Hello HEMA friends and welcome to this new video. Today I will answer to Coach Ramsey Dewey and his video Weapon Sparring Kinda Sucks, trying to add something useful to the discussion. My friend, the Scholar General, already answered to the video and I suggest you to watch his answer. I will add anyway the links to both the videos below in the video description. That said, let's discuss this topic. Now, to better relate to my perspective, you need to know that I trained and I still train in a variety of different contexts. Besides my 12 years of HEMA, I practiced various traditional martial arts such as Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, Shindo Muso-ryu Jodo and Takemuso Aikido. And I later approached combat sports such as boxing at first, to then switch to kickboxing, which I'm still training today since more than 2 years now. So I have a decent grasp of a variety of sparring environments, and I can say that the main difference that I found is the difference in pain levels and the frequency at which you feel pain, and of course the risks that you are facing during the sparring, which modifies the psychological way in which you approach it. HEMA sparring, generally speaking, covers you in bruises, sometimes as tiny as a coin, other times as big as an open hand or more. It is otherwise rare to have my fighting capabilities decreased substantially by pain or damage during a sparring, or even a tournament fight. It happens from time to time, but it's pretty rare. The real risk in HEMA is when equipment fails, which leads to broken bones, pierced hands, concussions and other nasty things. In my early HEMA days, when the equipment was crappy, I fractured all my fingers, one after the other, besides my thumbs and the left index finger. The pain which I suffer while sparring in kickboxing is quite different. Even while wearing shin pads, kicks tend to hurt, especially if you receive many of them on the same spot. When you get punched on the face, even in a controlled way, it is far from being pleasant, and when something goes wrong, such as moving forward at the wrong time, you may end up receiving nasty punches, kicks, and when you are very, very unlucky, knees. I will say that pain, even in a playful sparring environment, is a relatively important learning tool while training about bare-handed fighting. Clearly more relevant than in HEMA, and clearly more frequent, while generally mitigated by various levels of control. But let's get to the point. Coach Ramsey says that the difference between a weapon-based sparring and its real counterpart is far greater than the one between, for instance, MMA sparring and a real bare-handed self-defense scenario. This is definitely correct in terms of damage. Thus brings us to the consideration above. Pain is less relevant in the development of a weapon-based fighter compared to a bare-handed one. But this is because it is extremely hard and luck-based to absorb relevant blows from a sharp and pointy weapon, while to a degree it is possible to absorb a good amount of kicks and punches with proper skill, strength, conditioning and, again, a bit of luck. Of course, here we can talk about adrenaline. When it kicks in, you don't feel pain, you keep fighting even if you are injured in a terrible way. This is true, but is different from person to person, and we can't rely on this kind of things while discussing the average. Anyway, this greater difference, this distance, which I mentioned above, doesn't make weapon-based sparring bad or lesser useful. It just makes it more complex to approximate in a realistic way, if the goal is to train someone for a fight, of course. This is of course a problem which exists since weapons are a thing, which on the long run brings to training philosophies. Competitions, yes or no. Protections, yes or no. Sparring at first blood or continuous fighting, or something in between. What do we modify to make training safe? The distance at which the actions are landed, the speed and the intensity to make it easy to control, the tools themselves, such as transforming a katana into a shinai or a sword into a feather schwert to make it more suitable for a safer practice. All these approaches had been used to make training viable. Everyone had their trade-off. But this is true also for bare-handed fighting arts, even if, again, the distance between reality and training or competitions is, in that case, inferior. But I have to point out that this is not always the case. For example, karate kumite is basically bare-handed fencing. By a certain point of view, fencing is a better representation of what a real sword fighting is compared to what every semi-contact bare-handed fighting sport looks like if compared to a real bare-handed fight, for example. Same is for all that weapon-based martial arts which are practicing continuous fighting as a sparring. They are to a certain degree a worse representation of what a weapon-based fight looks like, because absorbing weapons hits is not that easy, but continuous fencing is at the same time a relatively useful training tool to train once in a while, to triangulate reality, because you can't know if the opponent will go down at the first thrust or cut, or not. At the very least, you can't know it for sure. It depends. So, in short, there is no solution to the problem. The best solution is to train in the best way viable, triangulating the objectives with a variety of exercises, games, sparring methods, and practices. That's how you grow up a sword fighter. Then, of course, when his lungs will get pierced for the first time by a blade, it will be for sure a terrible experience, and maybe his last one. But there is no way to prepare someone for this kind of thing, be it today or 600 years ago. Talking about emotions and psychology, I already mentioned that there is a huge difference between training, sparring, even tournaments of course, and a real sword fight. Musashi says that to be ready to fight, you need to be fighting as if you were already dead. So probably one of the most important conditions to win is to struggle and go past that fear and emotion that freezes who fights for real with a weapon. But this is true in every fighting condition. So who knows what one person is going to do in front of a sharp sword? As one of my masters said back in the days, we are like virgins talking about sex, and he was right. Ramsey, if you are watching this video, thank you for your content and for sharing your insights with us. I am a long-time follower and I greatly respect you and your work. Very good people. Thanks for watching this video. Remember to check my Patreon if you want to support me, link in the description as always. Thanks for watching again and as always, see you next time.